Right, I thought I'd keep going. And if you ever stumble on any of these things, it's already too late because there's no one here. But what I'm doing here is writing. I'm journaling, or I'm documenting, or I'm dictating basically my thoughts. This is a process that I use to refine my ideas, and I find it quite useful. And I'd do the added thing of directing it towards politicians. I'm still yet to have one reply, which I think is checkmate. So this one will go to Peter Costello of the Liberal Party. This is the death of the Australian Liberal Party, as far as I'm concerned. If you don't reply to someone putting in as much work, a citizen, a person that really shouldn't. I didn't do too well in school. You know what I mean? I've had a head injury. I had children young. I've had problems with alcohol when I was young. I've had all these types of things. This is what you all crap on about all the fucking time. I don't care whether I'm swearing, because I'm sure you all swear. This is a failure to launch, not just into social media, but into the entire concept of the internet, which is really bad, considering how much of our economy takes place on the internet. It's checkmate. It's game over. The nation known as Australia, that has been, a tennis match between the Australian Liberal Party and the Australian Labor Party, is over. You cannot continue on. It's okay. We'll put it back together. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men, luckily, could put Humpty together again. But not one invitation. Clearly I can speak. Clearly I can think. Clearly I can use a calculator. Clearly I can manage a business. Clearly I can, can operate legally within a very abusive, very neglectful system. My loyalties have projected towards England, but that was how this place was started. So what is it with the living cohort of politicians from Australia? We didn't start from scratch. We took the system and we put it here. It's basically the same. It's a constitutional monarchy. We didn't try a republic. We didn't do any other type of thing. It's just unacceptable. And it's like, is it the way I speak? Is it the presentation? What is it? What is it? Am I too big a threat? Am I too rough around the edges? Well, you're not here at all. And as I said, what percentage of Australia's, of the world's economy is taking place on this thing? So have you all just led to the destruction of the digital financial world from Australia? Because that's going to be a bad mark on your reputations. And I can't help but think that you have. What does that do to Australia's reputation? I'm not writing on my walls in a fucking cave. I was, as a performance, to show how insane this system is for a very long time, from both sides of the aisle. On both sides of the aisle, you call yourselves conservatives. You're not conservatives. A goods and services tax that makes money on the citizens spending money, that's not a conservative policy at all, is it? You want people to spend money. What about you want people to add value to the country, to aspire to educate it, to rise to the new environment, to go head to head in the world on all fronts? No, you want to skim a little bit of cream off the top, and you want to make the majority of the administrative work go to the individuals who dare to attempt enterprise in this country, and you call yourselves conservative. You have fucking strangled, beaten, and raped Australian business, and you call yourselves conservative. Peter Costello sits there on the Australian and says, oh, wages need to rise. They haven't gone up in 10 years. Is that the only fucking thing you can talk about? Do Conservatives, are they even concerned with wages? As far as I'm concerned, Conservatives, the only thing they're worried about is keeping wages low so that enterprise can thrive. Now, I will admit that 10 years without wage growth is a catastrophe. That's without the ridiculous fucking inflation that has been caused by these digital nonsense, cloud-based fucking speculative nightmares that I hope are unfolding and crashing. And I hope every single speculator across the entire earth is sweating in their fucking jocks over this weekend. I began my employment as a tradesman in the glass. I'm a glazier. Now, I didn't do an apprenticeship, although everyone's talking about apprenticeship. I did do an apprenticeship, really. I did an extremely low-paid subcontract position on $15 an hour, paying my own super, paying my own tax, buying my own tools, learning all the things, being thrown into the deep end of whatever. The unions have a thing or two to say about that activity, but well, that was just an apprenticeship, wasn't it? Now, what's the concept of an apprenticeship? You don't get paid, but you get the skills. Well, why is that? Because skills are valuable. Well, is speaking a skill? Yes. Is the law a skill? Yes. Is diplomacy a skill? Yes. Is theology a skill? Yes. Is psychology a skill? Yes. So I've continued this on. I've built my own apprenticeship, and I'm being punished for it in this country. I'm being ignored in this country. It brings a rose to every cheek. Sold to Kraft, not even Australian. Yet wheeled out as the most Australian thing since fucking... Since what? What is Australian? I've no doubt I've go across the world and go, do you know who John Howard is? I go, no, no fucking idea. Do you know who Anthony Albanese is? No, no fucking idea. Do you know who Paul Hogan is? Maybe. Crocodile Dundee. A film. That's it. Steve Irwin. A TV star. His son being wheeled out to dance around like a fucking bear in a Taiwanese fucking circus. You've raped this country, you cunts. For 10 years I sat there and tried to go along with the legal fucking precedent of keeping tax and pay as you go and all the other tax fucking scams that you've run while you drown and fucking mutilate the country known as Australia. Or your bureaucratic wankers play fucking tennis in the grounds of on the lodge or whatever the fuck else it is you do. Wander down to the Thai brothels that have emerged on every fucking street corner. You call this Australia. Do the brothels pay 10%? Do the brothels pay fucking GST? Do the illegal tobacco trade pay GST? Does the illegal methamphetamine trade pay GST? Does the illegal heroin trade? Does the illegal sex trafficking trade? No. So what is it? A backhander? Little fucking reach around? The Liberals, they're like, yeah, we'll do this. And then what you guys have a turn. You keep fucking pushing the union wages up and we'll keep putting the foreign money to build the buildings. and then use lot will spend about all your money because you're all fucking alcoholic fucking degenerates. Problem is that all the union fucking construction workers, all the miners spend all their money on the shit that isn't getting taxed. You've fucked the whole thing. The genius solutions like, oh, how do we, we've got to outlay all this money to pensions, to old age pensions. Fuck, that's a lot of money. You look at that at the column, right there, there's pensioners, those fucking pensioners. Wish we could just kill them all. Wish it was fucking Germany 1945. No, how are we going to do it? Build a fucking casino and fill every pub with pokie machines. That ought to do it. That ought to rake back the funds that we've got to pay these fucking useless eaters. They're not looked at like a resource, like the fucking dwindling most important resource that this country has, the skills, the professions, the experience, the literary, the political, the business skills, the social skills, the organizational skills, the administrative skills that are so vital in a looming financial and technological disaster that's just on the horizon. Yeah, I joke around and pretend I'm a liberal. I'm not a fucking liberal. I'm an Australian. I might be the last one, I think. Now, I began this by saying these are just notes. I'm just keeping notes. This is a way that I, use to think in 2025 when I have access to it. You might have used one of those little dictaphone tape recorders, and it's exactly the same. The only difference being that as soon as I plug all of this into artificial intelligence, I can use it as like a multi-year reference of my speech. I can press Control F and find exactly what phrase I've said, when I've said it, align it to what you haven't said. But basically, at the end of the day, I can say in 5 years of trying to communicate with any single person in media, in health, in politics, in education, in psychology, anything, not one person has replied. Why? Because I'm using the internet. My business was located on the internet. It was pretty successful. I was pretty far along the way of developing a national guild for my trade that protected us from the growth imported nonsense of the wholesale sector. My concepts included, a glass manufacturing facility with the sun. All of these things are completely doable. Yet no one's handed my business card on. No one's given me a thing. No one's given me a like. No one's given me any. I'm in the fucking dark here. So what is Australia and what is the internet? What is our percentage of our economy takes place on the internet? Well, all of it, doesn't it? Unless you're getting paid cash, and that doesn't really affect the economy, is it? You're getting paid in digits, ones and zeros on a fucking screen on your phone. Yeah, well, that's no different than what I do here. But when I look in the archives of history, I find books and articles and writings and monologues and speeches and things. They seem to be pretty valuable. So I've built a pretty big pile here of things like that. I seem to be sitting on a bit of a stockpile, bit of a powder keg, don't I? Now, why is no one in the Australian political world having anything to say about any of this? Not one person, not officially. In the United Kingdom, I get assured. I haven't betrayed Australia. When I claim to work for MI5, when I claim to work for MI6, what am I doing? Well, I guess I'm going off the assumption that these things are important, that intelligence is important, that adaptation, evolution is important. And considering that I wasn't being taken seriously by the Australian government, I went back home. But I never applied for MI5. I never applied for MI6. I applied for ASIO. So that's where this is going. This is going to ASIO. Who am I working for? I'm working for myself. I'm working for my family. I just want to know where I'm going to be based. I want to know where I'm going to put down roots because I've learned from the mistakes of my father, or from the situation of my father, which was, I think, best outlaid today when I mentioned the thing about him trying to get a license for a dog and then 1,000 fucking dogs, people, immigrants, being put in the same location. We can't run a fucking country this large with this kind of behavior. You've all drank the Kool-Aid. You're all floating around in the stock market or in the casino or in the Bitcoin casino. And you can't make decisions like that when you've burst out of reality and you're speculating with fucking newly created nonsense, with a complete infrastructure of newly created nonsense. Where do we land if this all fails? You've put the entire Australian populace in a fucking blimp. And I can't help but see the Hindenburg bobbing up and down above the fucking gum trees that are hideously flammable. Now, the Hindenburg crashed in like a nice field. Where was it? In England or Germany? I don't even know. I'm not a complete master in historical reference. But this Hindenburg that you've all jumped on, well, fuck me, that thing catches on fire in the Australian bush, we're going to have an absolute catastrophe. And I don't even see any of you holding a fucking hose. I'm trying to put down a firm strategy, a fire mitigation strategy for this country, and I've been ignored by every single person that is apparently responsible for that. The main critique is wages. Wages grow up. Well, what about everything else? Were the convicts paid wages? No, they were convicts. Were the Aboriginals paid wages? No. A volunteer fire brigade paid wages? No. A volunteer senior citizen, like community things, sports coaches, all these things that actually make the Australia that I enjoy and make Australia safe, make Australia livable. Are they paid wages? No. So it seems like you've exposed yourselves. Oh, wages need to grow. I've spent the last 10 plus years below minimum wage. And I've got some pretty serious chops in a few different arenas. But there's no university on it. I went to the universities to hope that they will play ball to re-legitimise the universities. Those universities weren't started by people attending the universities. Obviously, the chicken and the egg situation kind of makes itself clear there. I've gone to them because I've done something better. I've adapted, I've evolved, I've used the current technologies in a way that wasn't spoon-fed to me. I've always done that. I've done that with every single computer game I've ever played, which is what you've turned Australia into. And I'm not playing. I'm sure you've all sat there, laughing as the children of Australia sit there and play Japanese fucking video games and lull themselves into stupor. I'm sure the Fortnite thing, well, I don't know how much tax Fortnite pays for the skins and basically the online casino that it's distributed to Australian children, but probably just enough to get you all to turn the other cheek. I don't know what it is. Well, I built my own Fortnite. I don't fly around looking like a fucking Spider-Man fucking cartoon character. I went into the history, the traditions, the political whatever of the entire fucking empire's history, not just this little shithole down here that's been run like a fucking Chinese brothel. And I just want to know that what is the plan, fellas? What's the plan? I've got a feeling that we're going to need one. Have any of you got one? I don't know what this, identity politics thing is, wheeling Susan Lee out as the prime. Okay, I get it. We're in the middle of a, politically correct catastrophe where you can't wheel someone who's swearing, who smokes marijuana, who's down for fucking domestic violence and all these things out as a politician. Well, I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the optics game anymore. I heard probably one of the most popular musicians at the Arias say motherfucker on the Arias. I don't know where I heard it. I heard it on the internet, but that's still at the Arias. Yeah, maybe I didn't hear it on broadcast licensed television, but I heard it. I've heard it a lot. I heard it a lot from every single American hip-hop artist that was projected in our country and allowed in some. Like, what's going on? The Australian people are being treated like children and then abused like children, and then their children are being abused. And then we fall down to some Mary Poppins figure who supposedly, maybe with the help of the behind-the-scenes Liberal Party is going to usher in and beat and conquer this socialist communist nitwit. I don't think so. We need to draw on the whole history of the whole thing, every aspect, like we always have. I look at all the markers are still there. I went to Hobart. Oh, this was built by Defence because they were concerned about invasion in World War II. And so they built these gun towers and watchtowers and things like this. They built infrastructure, they built bridges, they built walls, they built wharfs. Now all we get is artificial intelligent pictures on a ticker tape fucking social media. There's nothing. The substance is gone because no one can do anything in this political correct nightmare. Whatever you think about me, I'm not actually that bad. I really try hard not to swear, and I think I'm getting a little bit better. I try hard to be understanding and to be communicative, to not fall to reactionary strategy, all these things. But I've grown up in a very different world than all of you. But I haven't neglected my historical education to understand the true history. I just see the true history of the entire period through the lens of the Gen Ys, of the millennials, whatever you want to call me. I'm not particularly a fan of avocado on toast. If I eat an avocado, I'd like to have it with just a squeeze of lemon juice, preferably that lemon not being shipped here from California and costing $7 at Coles. Why? Because my grandfather and his whatever grew lemons in Gosnells. That's why. Because I know how abundant and how easy it is to grow lemons, and I don't like paying the equivalent of a fucking pack of cigarettes in 1997 for a single fucking lemon. And the truth is, we don't need to buy lemons because our entire fucking political system, our entire government on both sides is filled with them. Is filled with the fucking entitled, bloated rejects fucking floating on a fucking padded mattress of bullshit and fucking, organized selection that have basically been talking to themselves for the last 30 years. One of the main ways I'll be critiqued is you're just talking to. That's because it appears like I'm talking to myself. Well, that's what the news person does. That's what all of you do when you put the microphones in front of you. That's what Winston Churchill was doing. It seems to just be the metric of this online thing. And now the Labor Party is now, putting all their cards out on the table. Let's ban it. Turn it all off. Hurry up. Well, as soon as you turn it off, I'm knocking on the door. You want to try and stop me? I won't be armed. Not with anything but my tongue. The archive of this is well and truly stored in military headquarters in England. There's a lot of English people in this country that are going to be very, very pissed off at the treatment of one of the oldest descendants of one of the oldest English families in this country. What type of confidence does that invoke in the English people that have, moved their entire families, their entire lives, professions, furniture, good quality, handcrafted, antique furniture in big container ships and brought it all the way down here under the promise that Australia is still a loving extension of the British Empire, at least maybe in our hearts, maybe not officially, but officially we are still part of the Commonwealth, aren't we? Are these words not important anymore? There is no way forward for entrepreneurs, for developers, for people that we need to go out on a limb and develop strategies and businesses and services and solutions for a post-internet boom Australia. There is no future for those people. There is no way through that if they're forced to participate in this inflated financial delusion expressed in an elevated wage. A volunteer fireman does not become more courageous or more effective as his wage goes up and down. Why? Because he's not even getting paid. What is a wage? For most of human history, it hasn't existed. Humans have participated in contractual arrangements or in trade, not in wages. A wage is a delusion. You should know that. These are the baseline arguments of a conservative political arrangement. When no one is sitting on their own patch, when they're all perpetually kept on a treadmill by these mortgages, by this, overexposure to materialism and all this nonsense, this digital casino that, basically tap and go. You don't even need a tap. It's just spend, home delivery. Then no one understands. Then it becomes wages. So what is a wage? A wage is a political tool that used to be on the left because the government, the industry, the infrastructure needed workers. So therefore, their own battle to get wages up. But when Peter Costello speaks about wages, it exposes him as being an absolute nitwit. Completely disconnect, unaware. What's going on here? Yeah, or the people that brought money here, they're doing quite well. But to what end? They're only going to cannibalize themselves. What percentage of immigrants are actually building like homesteads here? And I don't mean like some type of like some characterization of a home. I mean legitimately estates that are putting down roots, putting down actual firm things in the ground here. No one. It's like a riverboat in Mississippi. This is what you've turned Australia into. You walk down through Sydney. I've done enough travelling around. I see the infrastructure. I see the massive stones that were moved. I see the beautiful infrastructure that, the contouring of the land, the planting of plantations, the trees, the dams, all these things that were built by your predecessors. And you've inherited it all. You've disregarded it. You've bet on this technocracy, on this bullshit fucking casino, and you've turned Australia into a Mississippi riverboat. where the people of the world come here and spend their hard-earned money on prostitutes, drugs, and cigarettes, and then they rake up their winnings, or they cry over their losses and they head on home. That's not Australia. You should all be fucking ashamed. And what have you utilised from it? You've utilised a 10%. And how much of that goes to pay the wages of you grubs? You can sit there with your photo opportunities and your press conferences and your big noting. Very thin ice that you're all standing on to call me a fucking narcissist, to call me an egotist, to call me a delusional fucking whatever. A 10% GST, if only spent on government and only spent on the encouragement of reckless, ridiculous, material retail spending, is a Ponzi scheme. I can't blame you, because the whole fucking global financial system is now a Ponzi scheme, but we sit on land here. Yeah, land, money doesn't grow on trees. Isn't that the oldest thing in the book? So what is the Australian government at the moment? Well, the Australian government seems to be the front desk at a fucking, as I said, as a Mississippi riverboat. It's a very big one. Most of it is nothing. There's a few little hot spots on this continent here. But that's what you lot are fucking doing. Now, in order for this continent, this big rock, and for order for this big rock to do anything into the future, you lot all need to figure out how to begin to bridge this gap. I'm presenting on the infrastructure that you built, or that you didn't build it, you allowed it, you profited from it, you utilized it for political power, and I'm fucking mastering this shit right now. I am pioneering, as we pioneered, my families on both sides pioneered this land base. I'm pioneering this fucking digital jungle on behalf of the British Empire. That kind of thing used to be respected down here. And I can't think of any larger disrespect than to completely ignore somebody who is voluntarily holding up their fucking end pretty well. And I can't help but think that this lowers the reputation, the accountability, the brand equity of Australia around the world. Unless, of course, you all can figure out how to bridge this gap. We used to know how to build bridges. That one in Sydney seems to be pretty strong. It held the weight of 20,000 Nazis. Oh, sorry, and a Wikipedia fucking developer / international terrorist / hacker. Well, is that what he was? I don't know. All I know that he was standing behind the E. Come next week, some things are going to need to change, because we can't continue to hold this delusion around the world. Either internet stocks are going to crumble, the entire digital financial world is going to evaporate, and we're going to have a depression. That's what I want to happen. Openly. I'm not pretending that I don't. I want that to happen. With all my heart and soul, I wish for nothing more then the entire digital fucking ridiculous projection to evaporate so that we can get back to doing the job of being Australian and, building a country. Is it just ego? Charles didn't put my head on the coins. I don't know what it is. It might just be ego. But either that's going to happen, or you, as the Australian Liberal Party, is going to learn how to use your words. Is going to learn how to speak. Is going to offer me an invitation and a time period. You're going to say, hey, Shannon, we'd like to welcome you to the Australian Liberal Party, and we're going to give you a year to prepare you to actually interact in our little fucking pantomime that we've been playing. That way we can combine forces and we can knock this Australian Labor Party well and truly into the mud and hopefully keep them there for 10 years. Because that's how long it's going to take. And we need solutions to give to those people that are going to be absolutely smashed by the false promises that this Australian Labor Party has given them. So, yeah. I can put all my intelligence, all my spy activity, all my hacker activity, all my aggression, all of that, I can put it all in my manuscript. I can put a fiction tag on it. I can take it to Penguin Books and I can get it published like my favorite book, Ishmael, and I can then begin my political career with a fresh slate. I don't know how many Liberal politicians, Australian Liberal Party politicians, have been authors, but, there's always room for one, isn't there? We've got Tim Winton here. He's an author. But yeah, considering every single thing I've done has taken place in confinement, in a digital confinement that I will do my best, as Solzhenitsyn did, to explain to the world. But yeah, one of the two things is going to happen, because we can't continue to walk the Australian public over this poorly constructed, poorly reinforced, poorly conceived, poorly designed, poorly malfunctioning products, absolute blind spots of abuse. We can't continue to force the Australian people over this. I know it's not all your fault. I know it was just an American creation and we've just thought it was the way of the world. But that reminds me of another book written by an Englishman, of course, The Wizard of Oz, which yesterday the new movie is made, Wicked as all, whatever the fuck it's called. But yeah, I'll send this through just to the Australian Labor Party. I hope I haven't offended anyone. This is just my way, but it's not actually my way. In person, I'm quite polite. I can return the favour. Perhaps if we get in power, we can put Anthony Albanese in a digital concentration camp for 3 years and, force him to run a gauntlet to the depths of hell in order to survive it, and perhaps bring back some nuggets himself. But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't wish that on my worst fucking enemies. So yeah, I think it's time to get to work, or it's time to blow the entire fucking financial system up. Now, the problem is I don't have my finger, I don't have the button. Somebody else has the button. So if you answer yes, we'll give you a year. We're going to welcome you to the Australian Liberal Party. Here's your salary. Here's your car. Da 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 da. And I say, well, that's fantastic. I begin next week. There is still a very high likelihood that the entire financial system is going to collapse around us, and I'm willing either way to take that on board. So I'll give you all the weekend to think about it. Let's say by next Wednesday, Or no, let's see. Let's see you next Tuesday. Sounds better. No need to delay it another day. So I'll see you all next Tuesday on whatever way you decide to answer my question. And then we'll go from there. Yeah. And as I'm talking about literacy and books and the English language and all these things, I'll now do, I know this is a bit of a weird fucking gimmick, but I'm going to continue on. So this is to John Howard and Peter Costello. I'm going to give you 5 words. Disciple, one of the 12 personal followers of Jesus Christ. Any follower of Christ, an adherent to the doctrines of another, a follower. Discipleship. Wacky. Smack. To make a sharp sound as of striking against something. Opah. O-P-A-H. A large, deep-bodied, brilliantly coloured oceanic food fish. Lamprus regius of Australian and other waters. Also, the moonfish. And just below that is opal. A mineral, an amorphous form of silica in water, hydration not as hard or as heavy as quartz, found in many varieties of colours, often a milky white, certain which are... Wow. I think this is the last word. I hope so. Ecosystem. Ecosystem. A community of organisms interacting with one another, plus the environment in which they live, and with which they also interact as a pond or a forest. Wow. Great words. Great words. I actually couldn't have thought of better words. And I swear to God that I'm just picking them randomly. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. What a day, hey? Australia for the win. It would have been way different if England won. I told Charles, I said, Charles, if England win, I'm coming home. But if Australia wins, I guess I'll stay and fight the good fight down here and hopefully maybe just visit Scotland and England one day. But I can't do that till I get paid. So I need a job. And I guess there's no place better to apply for a job than the Australian Liberal Party, which I guess this is what this is officially. So I look forward to your response. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks.